Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. Let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from TA coworker X from the Am I Wrong subreddit and says, am I wrong? My wife wants me to reject the job offer because my ex works there. I, 36 male, have been having an argument with my wife regarding this issue for the past few days. I wanted some neutral opinions, especially from married women, on what to do in this scenario. I work in the tech field and our research area is very niche. I had issues with my current company and started interviewing at different companies. At one of the companies I ran into Abby, who I dated 14 years ago. We dated for 3 years and I broke up amicably as I wanted to pursue further studies and she wanted me to settle down. I met my wife a year after our breakup and I was still friends with occasional benefits with Abby till then. I was upfront about the whole situation with my wife and she told me early on during our dating that my friendship with Abby bothers her. I loved my wife and was serious about us, and it was a no-brainer for me to stop hanging out with Abby. Abby was confused but understood why I did it. We have not spoken to each other since then. My wife and I have been married for 11 years now and have one super cute toddler. During the interview process, Abby was one of the interviewers and we had a nice professional discussion. I received a job offer from that company the very next week. I would be in middle management and Abby would be directly reporting to me. I've already informed the hiring manager regarding Abby and they seem to have no problems with it. I also have 2 more job offers and I negotiated with all the companies. And the first company, where Abby works, is willing to pay me almost 80k more than the other companies. However, my wife told me that I promised her that I would not be in touch with Abby many years ago. And she's asking me to take the offer from the company who is willing to offer the second most compensation. Her reasoning is, it'd be awkward for me to be Abby's manager. And since we both work in the same field, it is not like I can transfer her to another manager. She insists that it's not insecurity, but I made a promise. She says that it's finally my choice, but she does not feel comfortable with me managing Abby and working with her. I see her side as I would have to travel with my team, including Abby for a few days to do an on-site location at least once a month. I can see why it would make my wife nervous. I personally want to join the company, as the compensation is higher and the experience in that company would be very valuable to me. Would I be wrong if I decided to go with the first company? It will offer my family a lot of financial security and will be good for my career. I do not want that taken away because of Abby. At the same time, I want my wife to be comfortable and not be constantly worried about the situation I will be putting her in. I agree, 80k is a lot of money, and even though your wife says it's not insecurity, it is. But at the same time, people get insecure. It happens. And you have to ask, how do you think your wife is going to react? Do you think it's going to cause resentment down the line if you take it? You might have this 80k, but it also might start to strain your relationship. And I think only you can answer that one. What will happen if you was to take that job? Will it ruin your relationship? Would that be it? But ultimately, only you will know how this will affect your family. But Zelda Pin says, I couldn't imagine the drama that will unfold every time you have to take a work trip, take your direct reports to lunch, etc. Or the resentment that you will harbor for feeling forced to make a choice. I guess what it comes down to is what has more value to you, your relationship or 80k. Justified insecurity or not, the job will cause issues in your relationship. Glass Intention says, I don't disagree with your reasoning on the issue. The only thing you should be thinking about here, is the money worth ruining my marriage? Think about it. Wife has told you this is a problem for her. So you taking this job is going to cause issues in your relationship. Every day or every so often, your wife is going to bring this up. Resentment from your wife, thinking she and her feelings don't matter, and the resentment you have towards your wife will fester. Arguments will happen and you'll both suffer, and you know who else will? Your child. Children will see their parents not being happy. So, is this worth it? Look, you did make a promise to not see this woman again, and I know it's been years, but it wasn't a clean breakup. You were friends with benefits before your wife. Nagging insecurities or life and marriage are going to creep in while you're away on site with this divorced woman. I'm not suggesting you will ever cheat, or Amy will want it, or that your wife is insecure enough to think you will. But people are human, And to be fair, your wife is telling you not to do this, that she is not comfortable with this. If you do this against her wishes and feelings, don't be surprised down the road if your marriage deteriorates beyond repair. So again, is this job worth it? Nerd as a verb says, is Amy married with kids? You say the brief interaction was professional, but you don't really know Amy's viewpoints or motives here. Your wife is clearly insecure, but she may have a good reason to be insecure. I can't tell whether you're full of it or not. This is factually a great setup for you to cheat. I think you really know whether you're being sketchy, but your wife's reaction is well within normal. Opie says, my wife did all the PI work and found out that Amy is divorced and has no kids. That was one of the reasons why she was a bit apprehensive about me taking the job too. And one final comment from Kamikaze Gorilla, who says, don't shit where you eat. Sounds like you got out of that situation unscathed and want to try it again with your marriage on the line. You were wrong. The money isn't worth it. Even your wife was happy with it. Crazy Ex could easily ruin your life. So OP came in with her update and says, I want to give a quick update. I posted a week ago regarding being confused about a job offer that my wife wanted me to reject because my ex, let's call her Abby, would be directly reporting to me. I know a lot of you pointed out why it is such a bad idea, but I want to be honest here. The reason why I wrote the post was to get ideas on how I can convince my wife that I should take the position. I felt that I have never given my wife a reason to not trust me, except one time. Long story. I should not be making important life decisions that benefit my family because of Abby, who I have not spoken to in 14 years. On Friday evening, we had a long discussion as my kid was at my sister-in-law's place for a playdate. As many of you guys pointed out, my wife might be insecure with me hanging out with Abby, specifically because we were friends with benefits after the breakup. I asked her about it and told her to be honest, as I would never make a decision without her being 100% on board. My wife said that out of all of my ex-girlfriends, she felt a bit insecure about her. The reason was because I did not get a clean breakup with her and had lingering feelings even when I met my wife. For context, when I met my wife through mutual friends, I was still friends with benefits with Abby for a few months after. However, I cleared things with Abby and broke up for good before I asked my wife on our first date. My wife had heard about how I was not able to get over Abby before that and only agreed to date me after I told her that I decided to go no contact with Abby. I asked my wife if she feels I will be less loyal to her if I'm around Abby. My wife and kid are everything to me, and I assured her there is no circumstances where I'd even think of stepping out of line to risk that. I also assured her that I will maintain professional boundaries with each of my direct reports, as I have been doing over the last many years, and Abby will be no different. However, if I miss out on this job opportunity because of Abby, I will always feel like, irrespective of what I do, my wife does not 100% trust me. My wife said that she trusts me 100% and does not want me to feel like I'm doing something wrong. She says she does not want some hypothetical scenarios affect the important decisions I make in my career and is okay with me accepting the offer. She asked me to make sure that we set up specific rules about Abby, one of them being no communication outside of work, maintain only strictly professional communication, and always over-communicate with my wife about everything about Abby. Abby messaged me on Saturday about how it was great to see me during the interview process, and I immediately told my wife. Based on her idea, I replied back to her on LinkedIn, and we'll make sure any of our communication stays there. I had until Monday to accept the offer. Yesterday, when I went to my office, I was planning to call the other company during lunchtime. However, my manager asked me to come to the meeting room to discuss something urgent. My current company knew that I was entertaining other offers. I told them and decided to match the offer from Abby's company. It's not exactly the same compensation, but it is only 20k less than their offer. Plus, they also assured me that they promote me as soon as a director level position opens up in one of the teams. It was amazing, and I called my wife. She was very happy, and of course I decided to stay at my current job. Overall, I feel happy that I got a big raise at my current place, and also know that my wife is not insecure and trusts me 100%. Edit, since a lot of people are asking what the one thing was, adding it here instead of replying. It was stupid. Years ago, my wife's friend told me we kissed while drunk, and I did not tell my wife. My friend thought I was her husband and apologized a lot. I told my wife after a few days later out of guilt. My wife had seen the whole incident and laughed because I drunkenly pushed her away after she tried to kiss me. which I do not remember, but that was about it. She still teases me and her friends about it to this day. And someone asks if OP blocked Abby, and OP said, I have not, and neither do I plan to. I did not block her 14 years ago and did not contact her once. She is also not a wacko as everyone is making her out to be, and respected my wishes and never messaged me during that time. I trust myself to stay away from her without being rude to her. Just because she's attractive and we had a dating history a long time ago is not a reason to go out of my way and block her to make her feel bad. All's well that ends well, I guess. I mean, it had me a bit nervous when all those comments were saying, absolutely don't take the job, etc., etc. But OP was going down that route in the update. And especially when Abby immediately started messaging you after the interview, it was giving me sort of sussy vibes. But what about you guys? What do you guys make of this one? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's move on to another story. And before we get into our next story, I do want to give you a warning that there's talk of PPD and body shaming within the story, so if you do want to skip it, please feel free to do so. Timestamps are always down in the description and along the timeline below. Thank you. This story comes from Jellyfish158 from the Am I the Arsehole subreddit and says, Am I the Arsehole for shouting at my husband at a family gathering? I, 25 female, and my 27 male husband had a child 3 months ago, but the pregnancy was hard on my body, especially after the delivery. I have stretch marks all over my stomach and I also got diagnosed with PPD. Well, I'm working on it now and doing better day by day. But since my delivery, I've been extremely tired taking care of the baby and stuff, but since last 2 weeks, I started going to the gym again with my husband. One thing which irked me was he always made remarks about my stretch marks and how I should be somewhat better by now. Oh, here we go. He was talking about my body and how it always turned him off. I kept up with it since I didn't have any mental strength to argue. But 4 days ago when I was feeding the baby, he again made a remark about my stretch mark. I don't know what happened inside me, but I shouted back at him and literally berated him about it so much that the baby started crying. I took the baby and went to the spare bedroom to sleep. Well, since that day, he's been giving me the cold shoulder, and we only ever talk when it's about the baby. Yesterday, we had to go to his mum's house for a family gathering, and midway through the night when all the people were present in a single room, she brought up the topic about my body and my stretch marks, and basically said it's not normal that I still have them and must not be doing enough to get rid of them. Well, all the people ages 40 plus chimed in my mother-in-law's support. I was so embarrassed and ashamed by this that I left midway, but I did shout at them and I left without my husband. I drove to my sister's home with a baby and I'm living here since yesterday. Most of our mutual friends, specifically guys, support him and have bombarded me with messages about how I overreacted and it's my fault. Well, so did my husband this morning, saying how I'm overreacting and it's nothing and I should just come back, etc., etc. I haven't replied to any of them, but I don't have the mental capacity to even think about it. But I do think I shouldn't have shouted at them, and I was wrong, but I need an outside perspective. So, am I the arsehole? What a fucking wanker. Gee whiz. You had this baby 3 months ago, you've been dealing with PPD and, dealing with parenthood in itself, of course, is extremely difficult as well. Guy needs a slap upside the head. I mean, what goes through that dome of his that he thinks it's a good idea to talk about your stretch marks? Some people never lose those. From what I've read previously, and I'm no expert on this, is that they just fade. And then to say it turns him off. That'd be it. That's it. And the family are just as bad, and he's clearly been talking about it to his family as well, for mother-in-law to suddenly start bringing it up in a room as well, with full of other people, and them to join in it as well. Absolutely disgusting people. Jeez, I think I can feel a vein popping out the side of my head. I am pissed off for you, OP, but Pure Philosopher says not the arsehole at all. Your husband and his family are massive ones. I'm so sorry they've been so horrible to you. Those stretch marks are evidence of the 9 months you spent growing and carrying his child. Trying to recover from pregnancy, birth, PPD, and adjusting to the needs of a new baby is no mean feat. You should be worshipping the ground you walk on, not critiquing your body and shaming you for not physically recovering to his shallow standards. The fact that he complained to his mother about your body and she raised it in front of everyone just boggles my mind. He and the family absolutely deserved everything you gave them, and more. Please don't go back to him unless he sincerely apologizes and supports you against these family members and so-called friends. But even if he does apologize, will his attitude really truly change? She said that the stretch marks turn him off. What if they wasn't to fade for OP? I'm not sure I'd be able to trust him anymore from what he's already said. But Lost All Doubt says, not the arsehole. You gave birth 3 months ago. It takes 2 months, 6 to 8 weeks, just to recover physically. Why does he think you're magically going to look exactly the same? As for the stretch marks comments, those also aren't just going to disappear. You didn't yell at him in front of his family. You rightfully told off everyone in the room that making horrible comments about something that is none of their business. Your friends telling you that you are overreacting should not be your friends. Stay with your sister until you get a genuine apology. And one final comment from Raccoon Key, who says, not the arsehole. As a matter of fact, you need to tell all those mutual so-called friends to go fuck themselves and tell your mother-in-law to mind her own damn business. Exactly like that. Your husband, and I'm going to keep it real with you here, is a total waste of space and a waste of your time. You just had a baby, and he's acting like a total unmitigated arsehole. If you want to be criticized by this arse and his arsehole tribe, your whole marriage, by all means stay with him. By the way, he's talking y'all's private business with mummy dearest. This jerk is going to make you miserable. You can do much better. OP updates their post and says, few things I should have mentioned in my last post, but I didn't. Not all people were against me. Many supported me. My fault for not mentioning it. Also, this happens a lot in Asian families, and honestly, I was surprised it's so rare everywhere else. Lol. Well, I found how my mother-in-law came to know about my stretch marks. My husband casually mentioned it in a chat he had with her, and it turns out she barely has any stretch marks on her. Superior genetics, I guess. And surprise, surprise, for some reason, she hates me and she tried to turn my husband against me by telling him that it's not normal and I must be doing something wrong and that it can be harmful for the baby. What? The audacity. I guess it worked. My husband also started doubting and pestering me about it. I had a long chat with my husband about it and he's agreed to try and work things out, starting with marriage counseling as many of you suggested. I also twisted his arm to go to individual therapy. We are still living separately, and to make things clear, he has never abused me before this incident. Though thank you to all, I realized how condescending his family was towards me subtly. He has agreed to go no contact with them and won't be allowing them to visit the baby. I've told him that if things don't work out, divorce is still very much an option for me, so I hope it doesn't get to it. Anyway, thank you all for your advice. It helped me so much and I hope it works out for me. And one comment which says, good for you for standing your ground. Stretch marks and whether ones get them or not is very individualistic, and I think it's also slightly genetic. It's down to how elastic someone's skin is and hormones affect that. Someone may be super skinny but their skin stretches well and they never get a single stretch mark. Or you may be slightly more voluptuous and therefore think that your body may be more forgiving with extra weight, but get stretch marks really easily. There's no guarantee not to get them, unfortunately. There are some things that help them. Bio oil and some vitamins, vitamin E I think, but ultimately they never entirely disappear, and your husband is still a huge prick for getting mad at you after your body grew and birthed a baby. And I'm not sure how that update made me feel. I wanted to be happy for OP and hopefully, and I hope marriage counseling works out and he loses these shitty toxic thoughts that's going through his head, but I'm not sure if I believe it. From the first post, although OP did confirm it wasn't everyone, there was other people, other friends who was bashing on OP at the same time, getting in contact and, saying that husband is right. I don't know, it just made me feel uneasy. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved in today's stories. Your love, your support, your time always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.